Hiya and welcome to October's crafting vlog. I hope you're all well. What have I been up to? Not a lot this month because it's turned into autumn and I felt like the need to get cozy, light the candles, read books, rest. I like to go into that phase from the busyness of summer into the calmer times of autumn. So I've been lapping that up and I haven't been doing quite so much crafting. So this vlog mainly contains slow stitching. In fact, I think everything is slow stitching. I have done a bit of knitting because I was knitting my other sock, but that really is it. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hope you enjoy. We're now into October and this is week 1 of the October's Coverlet of Comfort, which I'm following along with K3N Clothtales, which I've mentioned in my previous video, so do go and take a look at those. This time it was all about cloths that mean things to you. So I've got a variety on here. This, incidentally, if you saw my last vlog, you'll know I dyed my orange dress a lovely purple colour. And I also dyed some old linens, and this happens to be one of them. So I use that as my backing cloth. And then all of these are mean different things. I've got my grandson's little baby grows in a couple of places. I've got my husband's waistcoat, and my son, no, that's my husband's waistcoat, and then that's one of my son's waistcoats for when I got married. I've got some of my dad's shirts. That's another baby grow. That's from my daughter's pajamas. This, if you saw in a previous video, I was debating whether to cut up the christening gown that I was christened in, along with all these generations before me and after me. Yeah, a bit of a family heirloom, but it's like, what do you do with it? So I've decided I cut a bit of the lining and a tiny bit of the lace, and I've included it on here. This was a bit of tea dyed fabric from my old skirts. What else is in there? There's some random bits as well that, I mean, means nothing in particular, but I just like it. It's a bit of silk. And again, I like the shiny on that and the purple on that. Don't really mean anything. A bit of my upholstered chair there, kept the fabric for that. This one here was a tea towel. When my second son down, he went to school and they did a tea towel with the whole class. They had to draw themselves and then you could buy one, and it got a bit too threadbare, so I've used a part of it in this. This little bit was my dad's got a lovely trumpet, and when he passed on, I sort of acquired it. It sits on my top shelf in my reading nook, and it was in this brown corduroy bag, which was falling, you know, apart a bit, and I gave it a wash up, but I thought I could use it in things like slow stitching. So there I am on week 1, and that's what it looks like so far. So I look forward to doing some stitching upon this. So on week 2 of the Coverlet of Comfort in October, and we are just stitching around the edges of our squares. So I've 2 rows down, and I have got I've done 2 rows and I've got 3 more to go, as you can see there. Just give you a little close-up of some of them. I'll come back to you when I have completed them so you can see it before we do next week's. I managed to use all spare thread ends to go around all these squares. So that's week 2 complete. We're into week 3 of October's Coverlet of Comfort, and I've actually done the work, so I'll just give you a little, show you what I've done. I've done the eyelet, seed stitches, veiling, various French knots, spirals. Yeah, I've done a bit of everything. Not a lot of them really sort of mean much to me in terms of why I've covered them up. I've done mine more for the aesthetic look of it, and what sort of thought, oh well, for instance, like, you know, that goes with that particular colour, etc, etc. But that is week 3. I have made a start on week 4 of the Coverlet of Comfort. Done the black and white around the edges, and I'm just working on putting in the threads. I decided to use sock yarns because they're quite a good thickness in various colours left over from when I've made socks. So that is as far as I've got for now, but I'd like to go and upload this video for you guys to see. So that's all I'm going to share with you on this at the minute, and then I'm going to work on this afterwards. In my basket I have an idea, and it is really literally an idea at the moment, which I will show you. The idea is, I think it was the last crafting vlog, number 10, I had all these piles of linens and I was saying, I don't know what to make. I'm really not sure. And then an idea came to me. A scroll. Now, my previous scroll, bear with me a minute, I'll just get that. I have covered in lots of bright coloured patchwork, but I'm not going to do that with this one. I have another one, and this one, my plan is, at the moment it's just got, it's a damask tablecloth, that was my nan's, as a backing on it. So my plan is to, let me just unroll it a moment, get these linens. Let's try and find a bit. This bit was cut from a tablecloth. It's not cotton or anything. I don't really like the tablecloth at all, but I love the blue flowers. So rather than doing small patchwork bits, I thought I could, you know, do something like this. Let's grab another bit, for instance, you know, and overlay it and use bigger parts. Oh, it's not. So like this particular piece of embroidery here, and just cut the square, that maybe overlap that there, bit of lace there. I mean, it's not looking great, but you get the idea, and keep going. So rather than doing small bits, I would literally use a larger piece of some of the linens. So for instance, I could even just put that bit on there, if you get the idea here, and then, you know, it would look something like that. And then I could just stitch over it in white. I could do whatever. So I thought I could use the linens to cover this scroll, and then that'll be something else to work on. I could sort of add a few of these, and then I've got a bag full of laces. I could add a bit of trim. That was the idea, and I thought I would get rid of a few embroideries, but it wouldn't be completely cutting them up because you'd still see the beautiful embroidery on there. So I've got to start it yet. I haven't, as I say, I've got it all in my little basket to get on with. And another thing while I'm here, I'll show you this. Look at that. I printed on it. I discovered from a video the other day that you can literally get your stamps that you use for junk journaling or, you know, crafting, use some pigment ink and print on the fabric. Oh, I love it. I could just print on everything. So that gives a bit more design, doesn't it? A bit more, you know, ideas for different design work. So I could use a bit of that, and to be honest, I could get all my stamps out and start printing. It's now a week or two later, and I have got to covering this. At first I thought I would do a bit of patchwork, which, as you can see, I started off doing here. I did cover the whole background in half a napkin, and I had this lovely embroidery on. Then I used a bit of my nan's old handkerchief to patch here, and then I added in a little cutout embroidery there, which I do like. And then I tried to get smaller patches in as I went, and it didn't work. To me, it looked a bit too messy. So what I've done, I'm going to keep scrolling while I talk, I've literally cut napkins and tray cloths in half, and I've just filled the whole space, as you can see here. This bit here was an armchair rest, another half of a napkin. I have actually pliqued a little patch on there because I quite like that. I think the idea will be that that's exactly what I will do. As I go along, I've got the embroideries already on the napkins, as you can see. Nice little lace bit coming out. And then I'm going to applique bits on, a bit of lace, and I'm going to embellish it. And I think I will do stitching on it. I did originally think that maybe I would just do running stitch in white all along it. And I thought, no, I think I'm going to go for the applique. That's the end. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go for the applique, adding things and trims and things like that, and make more of a fabric collage, if you like, as opposed to a meditation stitch scroll. But we will see. But basically what I've just done here is the backing to then get working on, using all the tray cloths and napkins and beautiful embroidery bits that I wanted to use. The other little project I'm thinking of starting is this. I've just discovered Roxy's creation, and she does a journal of stitchery. This is all I've got so far. As you can see, I'm going to use my upholstery fabric that I covered my chair in, which you can see in a recent vlog, as the front cover, which is going to somehow cover this old book, which I picked up from the charity shop. It was only 25p, so I wasn't too fussed about pulling it apart. I've taken the innards out, and what I've done is I have made some, it was from an old cotton sheet, actually polyester cotton, polycotton sheet. These are going to be the pages, which I've sort of doubled up in size like that. And then I'm using a bit of my Nan's damask tablecloth as the actual part to stitch on. So over time that will all get stitched on. So you'll stitch on the white part of the tablecloth, stitch it onto here, so then eventually you'll have a signature of different stitching pages. I think I'm going to do a hard covered book. I'm not really sure. I think I'd like to, but the other thing I was going to do would possibly be a soft cover that wraps around, but I'm not sure. This is what I have done so far. So here I've created my first page. So this is my Nan's hanky, which I've trimmed a bit off, and then I've put some old vintage fabrics on. I don't know if you can see, but as you can see, I printed on these. You know, I just mentioned the printing. Well, I printed on this old dyed linen, which I thought come out really lovely. And then I've stitched them all on, and then of course I've done lots of running stitch all over it to hold it quite solid. Yes, lovely and tactile. Then I got this little doily, and I've seed stitched it. I've stitched Journal of Stitchery, and I've also done some stitches around the edge. And I'm thinking that should go nicely. Let's get that in there, centralised. That should go nicely somewhere on there. Then I might add some Suffolk puffs and buttons and things. And I quite like this tiny little embroidery, so I'm not quite sure whether I might put it in the middle there, on the edge. But that's sort of my beginning page. And then that, I'm going to add a few more bits to it. And then that will go, that will stitch onto that very first page there. And then I've got the first page of my journal. I will link Roxy's creations down below, because she's done lots of journal stitcheries. I think they're doing a big coverlet, a bit like the coverlet of comfort this year, but I quite like the idea of doing a little book. It's all contained in that. So that's one of my projects that I'm also starting off on. Around the border of the coverlet of comfort, Catherine has been making 9 patches, and in the centre of the 9 patches was her moon project. She had a piece of white cloth, and then she dyed it with a tea bag and some a washer, and then she sewed the phase of the moon on. I didn't actually follow this project because at the time I had quite a few projects on the go, but I would like to do the 9 patch border for the coverlet of comfort, and as there's a lot to make, I thought I'd get started with it. And in one of Catherine's videos the other day, we were cutting up the squares, which I think you saw earlier on in this video, and she mentioned about, you know, just doing a square a day if you've lost your creative mojo, which, to be honest, I lose quite a lot. So I thought, what a great idea. Make little patches and do a square a day. Well, as you can see, I've made it into a circle, and then stitch it onto here. And then I could also make the border for the coverlet of comfort. But in the end, as I say, instead of doing a square a day on a square and then making the 9 patch, I decided to do a circle. out of all the fabrics, and they're all vintage ones, that I have used in the coverlet of comfort so far. So we've got, this is just a bit of sheet, and then we've got some different ones under here. So each day I'm going to pick one of these and I'm going to do some kind of stitching. I think it'd be what I feel like doing on the day, whether it's just going around the edge, whether it's filling it all with a spiral, whether it's just do running stitches over it. I'll see how I go, but I think I'm going to start that now that I've cut them all out. I've got 28 circles and 28 bits of vintage fabric all cut up, ready to be sewn on. And then I had an idea where Catherine T dyed the background so it wasn't completely white, and my love for suddenly printing using stamps on fabric, I thought I could combine the two. So what I have done, well actually before I show you what I've done, I'll show you, we'll do a couple together. So I've got my 2 circles, I'll just remove them off there. And I'm using, at the moment, I am using this IV shaped stamp. Obviously the circle is going to cover up most of the fabric anyway, but I'm going to sort of print it around the edge. Let's move that one out of the way. So I've got my Distress Oxide. I've got a couple of these because you do need pigment ink. Otherwise I think it'll easily wash out or rub away or fade. So I've made sure these are pigment inks. Obviously just ink up the ink pad. And then I'm just printing, because the circle is going to cover it up, I'm just going to print sort of more on the edges there. Like so, just randomly, because obviously it's not going to be seen. I think I need a little bit more ink on that one. Pop it there. And then the circle will go on there, and then I've got a bit more interest around the edges. So we do a different coloured one this time and a different stamp. So this is the circle that goes on there. Get you in shot. One moment. I think we use this stamp. This has never been used. It's only about £1 in the charity shops. That's great. And I'm going to use the, I think I might, pink might be a bit too bright. I might stick with the 2. I've got a blue Distress Oxide. So I think I might stick with just the blue because it looks really quite vintage. It doesn't look too in your face and bright. And I've got pink and purple. I don't think I really want that. So we just make sure we ink up the stamp. There we go. And then we print all over this one. Oh, I love that. Just keep going and it gets lighter and lighter. That's gorgeous. And that will go on there. I really like that. It's pretty. So here's some I've done earlier. I've done the blue and I've been using a rose stamp, which is this one here. I've just been going over it there, and I've done quite a few, which I think would look really nice. And then what I would do, as I say, I stitch on these, and then when they're all done, I'll start making the 9 patches. I'm yet to decide what colours I want for the 9 patches. I've got to find all my material, and I don't want to go too bright. I want to go a bit more muted so that the brightness, because my coverlet of comfort, as you know, is pretty bright. It's got lots of flowery patterns and colours in, so I want to do something a bit more muted, but I'm not sure if I've got quite the right fabric, so I'm going to have to have a look there and see. I suppose on the other hand, I could get my old vintage linens and I could do some printing, make my own printed fabric for them. That's an idea too. Anyway, if you've never done this before on your fabric, honestly, it's such fun. And as I say, I think it makes, look at that, I think it's gorgeous. I hope that's my thing. I think it's gorgeous. Dear, oh dear. They are, aren't they lovely? I think they'd be lovely just to stitch on as they are. After a lovely break on holiday, it's now a couple of weeks later because I haven't really been getting into this. But it's an update on what I've just been showing you. Funny how time flies, but in the video it's seconds away. Right, so what I've done now with these, I have attached each one, but I've made the circles a lot smaller because they were taking over the background, so I couldn't see what I'd printed on them. So yeah, that's what I've done there. I've made them smaller and haven't been doing one a day because scrap that idea. I've decided to just build the blocks as I go. Now I've cut up all, I think it was 224 squares in here, and I'm just going for my basic plain colours with nothing on them because I thought the coverlet of comfort that I've made is got so much detail and colour, I just thought I just want some plain blocks. So yep, I ripped all them up, which took me a nice while to do. And then this is what I'm going for. There's a little stack of blocks here. I'm just going to gradually make the blocks, and then I'm going to do one of these at a time. So what I've done, obviously you can see, I've done the 9 patch. I actually did I didn't quite do it like Catherine did on Clothtales, because yeah, I hadn't made these anyway, so I didn't have a background attached to them. So I kind of made a normal standard 9 patch using a colour in the middle I didn't particularly that fussed about, and then I stitched it on top. And what I've chosen to stitch it on top with is this lovely linen, hand-dyed linen. So the idea is I'm going to switch the colours on the outside around in different ways. Then we're going to get different circles, but they're all going to be stitched on with the colourful linen around the outside. And then I'm going to do different designs in the middle. That's my plan anyway. And then also I'm using the coloured linen because it changes colours, like a bit like a rainbow, to stitch the 9 patches together as well. So when I've got time, I'm just going to start working on these. So I've got some done. I'm also following Kathleen in terms of doing 7 on each side. I'm not quite sure whether it'll be long enough for the whole of my coverlet of comfort, because I think mine's slightly bigger possibly in dimension. So, you know, but I'm going to make these anyway and go for it. And I've got them, and then I'm sure she'll show us lovely different ways to fit them in around the edge of the border of the coverlet of comfort. One of the next projects I've got in store, I just started today. It's got some sudden inspiration, and it's well, you can make them like as a religious thing. So I think they're called sacred shrines or something like that. But I'm using mine kind of like that, but I'm not personally not religious. But I'd like to put I've got some oracle cards, I've got little tiny ones, and a couple of crystals and things like that. So I'm making a mini altar, if you like, that will fold up, so I can take with me, and it's got all my essentials that I like to use in it. Now, this is just a paper template that I've designed, having done a bit of research on the internet. I couldn't find one to print out, so I've had to draw it out myself. So I'm hoping it'll work, because, you know, it's all a bit of a process. So the idea is it folds up like so, and you have those 2 close in there, then you've got that comes down like that, then you have a button in the middle or whatever, and that's your closure. And then you can pop things. I've seen people sew all bits on here. I think, you know, they've got pockets for little photographs. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do in there yet, but I have made a start on it. I have got this as my actual background, so it's going to be the cover, if you like. I was going to go for a patchwork cover, but I decided to have it all in one. But I think what I'm going to do is actually embellish it anyway, so it will be like so, and then fold that in there. So that's the idea again. Okay, and that's just the outside cover, so that's what you'll see when it's actually folded up. I've also done the inside, and I am doing a bit more of a patchwork with it there. So I've got it on some grey felt, because I want a bit of sort of wadding in there to make it a bit more stable. Sorry, wobbling the camera. And again, see, this will fold up, and then that goes into there, over there, and then like so. And then obviously this lovely little cover will be on the outside of it. That's what I'm going to do. I've just, I say, basically made the pieces. It does seem to work out in terms of structure, so that's good. I'm going to, this will be the bit that has all the decorations, so there might be pockets, little bits to slip things in, decoration, you know, everything you want to contain will be on this part, so I shall get working on that. But also on the outside, I kind of want to leave it like this, but I also maybe want to add a bit of like embellishments. I might add some stuff at puffs, obviously a button at some stage, and a tiny, and also I've seen little bits of beads added as well. So I will probably stitch on this too. I might just outline some leaves or something like that. So I've got the bits to work with. If this video doesn't go out, and depending how long it takes me, I will give you an update on that. I managed to finish my little pouch.
in time to record this, so that's really good. I did make a few changes. I'm going to show it to you and show you what I will put in it and how it works. So I've added a few beads on the end here, just a bit of decoration. And obviously this unwinds because sometimes, I'll show you in a minute, this is actually going to be a bit wider than what's in it because I want to put some essential oils in there, which then obviously bulks it out a bit. So obviously I thought if I had that, at least then it would still go round, whether I have it with less things in it or more things in it. I bought some junk jewellery and that happened to be in it, and I thought that would just finish off the fastening here, just something pretty. And as you can see, I never used the leaves for the background. I decided to go for patchworking. What's it called? Oh, weaving. There you go. I'll open the back. Let's try this way around first. Go for a bit of weaving on it because I thought those leaves that I was going to use previously, they just weren't me, and I was like, it's not me, this is more me. And I managed to use all the fabrics that, if you saw my first thrifting video a few weeks ago, I bought a lovely bundle from eBay with all these lovely little fabrics in that were grey and green, and this came in it as well. So I managed to use all of those. So that's what I did. I ended up patchworking the outside with a bit of cloth weaving, then do running stitch along that way and also that way. And I had this lovely little embroidery which I included because it's all like a nature theme. We've got the greens, we've got the neutral colours and the greys as well. So that's what I did on the outside. I'll flip it over. I've got some things in it, so I've got to be a bit careful. But I'll try and give you a closer view. It's not easy around this way. I've done a lot of detail in it because I do like a lot of detail in what I make. So up here, I'll get it in closer to the camera. Up here, I have grown some herbs. We had lavender and sage, and I also had these little lovely herb stamps, which I printed on a bit of linen. And then underneath there, I've sewn in the herbs, so it smells lovely. You've got, as I say, lavender and sage in there. It smells really lovely. I then had these vintage buttons, which I decided to just embellish on the corners there. And then one of those little mirrors I had that came in a bundle of junk jewellery, I think, and I thought I quite like that there. I'll just turn it around this way, sorry, and then you can actually see it properly. There we go. And then what I've done down the sides here, I had bought some hand-dyed ribbon, silk ribbon, and I've embellished this with silk ribbon down there. In this part here, again, I'll give you a close-up. This is going to have, I think I'm into my essential oils, so we can fit 2 in here. Oh, sorry, knocking the camera now. So you can just fit 2 essential oils in there like so. I'll take them out for now so I can show you the rest of the detail on it. And, oh, whoopsie. And there I have feather stitched some little flowers and a plant, all in the nature theme. In the middle here, I managed to use this Hessian bag, and then I crocheted a little thing and made a Suffolk puff and a bead and embellished it with that and a lovely wooden button there. This was a pair, and also a bit of lace as well. This was an old earring I couldn't get on with wearing because I was actually allergic to them, and then made my ears itch. And then I've added a little tassel and some beads and what have you. And again, embellishing with the theme of the sort of rainbow coloured silk hand-dyed ribbon there. So that goes throughout, along with the hand-dyed silk thread, which incidentally are very similar colours. So I've used that, as you can see, all around the edges there. And in here I've got, oh, if I can get it out, I've got like a crystal and one that fell out, which had fallen out a minute ago, and a nice bit of shell, I think. Oh no, we've got a nice little hagstone. So you can put whatever you like in these, really. You could do them even somehow incorporate maybe paints and things. If you've got some mini paint brushes and a little tiny pad, you could make it into an artist's little roll up. You know what am I trying to say? An artist's pouch. That's the word I want. Again, this side matches, and I have got a hand blended roller ball here because I like to make those, and that goes nicely in there like so. I'll take them out for now, otherwise they're going to fall out all over the place. Further down we have got a beautiful piece of artwork. It's actually a oracle card that I used. I cut it up because I ended up buying some really
ones on eBay, which are these, even though the artwork's beautiful. So I decided to use them in my journaling, and I went ahead and bought a new pack which were the proper size and exactly how they should be. And these are off of an old bracelet, and then we've got the silk ribbon again going around there along with the silk thread, and that's the image of the stag at the moment is very important to me, so I thought that'd be nice to have that. And the colours again of this particular artwork fit nicely with the ribbon and the thread and everything. We've got a tiny bit of, this is off an old sari, bit of embellishment there, and then we've got a bit, I put a button on another bit of old sari, and it's like a little loop. So at the moment I've got the Paolo Santo stick in there, but again you could probably put, you know, probably fit a rollerball essential oil in there, something like that, or a pen or something, whichever. And then at the bottom here we've got a tiny little lace pocket. Oh, and I've got a bit of abalone, I can never, abalone shell, is that how you say it? Again, embellished with a couple of things. So if I try and do this up now on camera, because it's got to go around this way, I'm afraid, because otherwise it won't get in, so we just need to lay that straight. So we'll fill it up. So in theory that will go there. Then I'll have my essential oils there that I'm working with. I've got quite a few, and I choose some to work with each week, so they will go into that part there. Obviously we've got the dried herbs in there. In here again, it could be anything, but I shall pop this crystal in there, and maybe that hagstone, just to keep them in there, things that I like. Then we've obviously got the Paolo Santo there, and then down here we've put the other couple of crystals and the shell. And then the idea is, this bit goes up first, so it goes up like that, then you go across with these. I did wonder about maybe putting a fastening here just to keep them across there, as it's quite wide, and then that goes up there. I should be able to turn it around now. And we got that, and because there's a lot more in it now, as you can see, it still fits, and the ribbon will hold it all together like that. And then those can just tuck in there, and there you have it. So again, you could make one. I think they're a lovely design. I ended up drawing my own template, having looked online. But yeah, you could use them for anything, can you? Like I say, you can put little papers and pens in there, journaling, whatever. You know, the ideas are limitless, and you could put all sorts in there. But this for me is just kind of like a spiritual traveling pouch to take things with me if I'm out and about in nature and I want to take them with me. So there we are. And that brings us to the end of the video. As you can see, I'm actually sat somewhere different, not in my crafting space. Shock horror. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sending you all lots of love. Bye.